Hey everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition. Resvon's not here with us for the last video. Promise. But today I figured since I went over Marvel Legendary and Marvel Champions, I'll go over a DC deck building game. Remember a couple videos ago I talked about the 3 deck building games that kind of got me into gaming and deck building and stuff. So I figured today we'd do a quick how to play, run through, a quick playthrough, hand or two, and then some final thoughts at the end of the video. So I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, everybody. So we have a basic setup here of a 2-player game of DC deck building game. Sounds weird, I know. So a 2-player DC deck building game. You can play up to 5, but we're doing 2 right now. So you start by shuffling up your main deck and you issue out 5 cards. You put 5 cards down face up. You have your kicks up here. You have your weaknesses here. You give each player 7 punch cards and 3, I'll show you guys those, 3 vulnerability cards. So they both got 7 and 3. And you have a villain deck over here. So with the villain deck, this is the whole villain deck. You don't use the whole villain deck. So you want to take Ra's al Ghul, set him aside for now. You take 3 cards randomly. I'm just going to take the top 3. And you take those away. Leaves you with 8. Including Ra's al Ghul makes 9. You can put more cards in for difficulty. It talks about that in the back of the manual. So you kind of shuffle through these. They're randomized in there. You set them down. Put old Ra's al Ghul on top right there. All right. And then you take, over here, you have the hero cards. All right. And this is the core set from the first box. You have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg. Some of the main Justice Leaguers, at least some of the beginning ones, but we'll take Batman and Superman. Normally you let, you could draft them out randomly, put them out, or you let people pick. But we'll just kind of go like this. We'll put Superman for this player and Batman for that player. All right. So then you take the cards that were dealt, all right, the 7 punches and the 3 weaknesses, and I'm going to do, as usual, a quick, cheap shuffle. All right, let's get these shuffled up really quick. I know, horrible job. All right. Once you've shuffled your cards, you take 5. Your draw hand in this game is 5. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are cards that will allow you to have more cards. There are things that will happen that will take cards out of your hand, which will spice that up a little bit. I just set them sideways to remember which ones are my draw hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw hands, like I'm a cowboy. Draw. All right. So now we're ready to play. Now, one of the things I'll point out is with these superhero cards, you get a special action. So Superman gets +1 power for each different superpower you play during your turn. And it seems right now there's no superpower cards out. And then we have old Bats over here, Batman. He gets +1 power for each equipment you play during your turn. Right? And there are different special abilities they can do. I can't remember who has what. I think Aquaman allows you to put the cards straight into your deck instead of your discard pile, because normally you put stuff in your discard pile. But they all have different things that kind of spice it up. You can pick what hero you like or just randomly pass out heroes. But the difference is kind of spice it up. Not knowing which villain's going to come out, changes the game up a little bit. These are shuffled, so the random set changes the game up a little bit. All right, so now that we're all set up, everybody's got their hero. They're ready to play. You get your cards. I'm going to set them down upside down. There we go. So let's see. I got a nice hand for Superman over here. And to pick the first player, I can't remember completely. I think it's whoever read the last comic book, but I might be stealing that from one of the other comic book card playing games. But you could do it that way, right? Who's read the who read the DC game? Who read the DC comic book last? So I have a good hand here. I have 4, 1 vulnerability. This just clogs up your deck, the vulnerabilities. So that kind of goes to the side. We don't need it. We can set it up there for now. All right. And then I have 3 punches. And if you notice on the punches, there's a couple things. They have plus power. A little text in here is going to tell you what your card does. Points, these are worth no points. Remember, this game at the end, you count up points and see who has the most points. If you look down here, there's 2 points for that card. Ra's al Ghul, you get 4 points. But so what you basically have here is this power. And what you use power for is to buy cards or defeat villains. So right now, we have, our first player has 4 power. They can't beat Ra's al Ghul. You need 8 power, right? And so we look at the cards that we have here. We have Cheetah, cost 2. We have Doomsday 6. Robin costs 3. Nth Metal costs 3. And Man of Steel, which looks like a pretty nice card, but it takes 8. So we can't buy a lot. We can buy one of these 3. But we can also buy a kit card. So kit cards are worth 3, and they give you 2 power. And they're worth 1 point at the end. So we could also get a kit card if we wanted to do that. All right, so I'm going to go these 4 points. What do we want to do? Superman's special thing is +1 power for each superpower used. We have no superpowers down here. But wait a minute. We do. We have kicks. So if you look right here, kick is a superpower card. Right here, villain card, they're also color-coded. Orange, red, blue for hero, gray for equipment. So we do have a super power card. And it also tells you superpower, villain, right, hero, equipment. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that. That's going to be my hand. I'm going to put those in my discard pile. I'm going to get 5 more cards, but we know we only have 5 because we started with 10. If you could do math, I'm not very great at it, so don't get upset at yourself. Not a bad hand. We'll shuffle them around right now that we're looking at them. It's not a bad hand. And it moves on to the next player. So then old Bats is going to get his turn, so he's going to look at what he has. Also, a good hand. He's got 1 vulnerability. It's not going to do us anything. And then he has 3 punch cards. 3, which means 3 power cards, right? 3 punch, 3 power. All right. And then we kind of look around. Do we want a kick? That'll give us +2 power. As I didn't say, but you could see. That's the nice thing about the kick. It'll give you +2 power. It's a good way to start getting more and more power to get more and more cards, but we don't want to do that. Let's look at Batman's special ability. He gets +1 power for each equipment you play during your turn. So like Superman, but Batman's equipment, Superman is superpowers. Kind of works. And we're like, there's this Nth Metal right here. So we're going to buy this Nth Metal. And it says +1 power, look at the top card of your deck, you may destroy it. Now where that becomes nice is you want to get rid of some of these starter cards. You probably want to get rid of as many as you can. And destroy means you take it completely out of the game, out of your deck, everything. And if you get weaknesses, there's cards that'll give you weaknesses. Usually the villains will do this, especially in the beginning one. You get weaknesses, you want to get those out of your deck. So what this is saying is you can look at your top card, you can go like, no, or actually, yes, sorry, it's a vulnerability. So once I play this, I can get rid of this card. So this is a pretty good card to have. So we're going to buy that card. And we're going to put all the cards into our discard pile. Now that my turn's over, I fill up any cards that are missing here. Well, that's cheap. Another Nth Metal out there. So you fill them up, and then if the villain has been beaten, let's say Ra's al Ghul was beaten, someone beat him, once you fill these cards in, then you flip over the villain card. And so here we have Black Manta, right? He's a super villain. And down here, the reason it says +3 power is he, just like Ra's al Ghul and any of them, go into your discard pile. And they become part of your hand. So it's nice. So he's worth 4 points. Once you beat him, it takes 8 to beat him. He gets 3 power and you draw a card. So it's nice to get these super villains into your deck. Now, first appearance. This is where I'm talking about weaknesses can come in, but let's see what he says. Attack. Each player discards the top card of his deck, his or her, right? If you discard a card with the cost of 1 or more, choose 1. Destroy it or discard your hand. So that's pretty rough. So let's say we're here with Black Manta up. We look at our hand. We got to pick a card that costs 1 or more. They all cost 0. And it says destroy it or discard your hand. So let's say, for sake of playthrough here, let's say I had this nth metal in here. I would either have to destroy it, which means take it completely out of the game, or I would have to discard my entire hand. Be like, nope, I'm discarding my entire hand. And now I have no hand to play, right? So it kind of, you destroy one card or you skip a turn. That's kind of what Black Mantis is doing to us right there. But, all right, that is basically kind of how you go through this game. Sorry, I was counting out cards. So what happens now would be, you know, you get your 5 cards up, goes back to Superman. He looks through his cards, right? He's like, oh, I got 3 again and 2 vulnerability that don't help me. And then you buy a card from up here. Superman's going to try to get some kicks in his deck. So he's going to buy a kick so he can get some superpowers up there. He's going to discard these cards because he's done with his hand. Then he's going to shuffle up his hand. Once you run out of cards, you just shuffle up your discard. And then you draw 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are cards that'll let you draw more cards and stuff like that. But your basic hand is 5. So there's his 5. Goes back over to Batman. Right, same thing. He looks through. He sees what he can buy. And then you go on and on. And you're building your hand up so you have enough power to take out a villain. Right? So you're trying to get up to 8 power in your hand. So you keep buying cards and trying to avoid weaknesses and things like that until you have enough to beat whoever the top showing villain is. And like I said, once you beat that villain, right? Let's say Batman beat Black Mantis. He goes into this pile, goes into the hand, helps you beat the next set, and so on and so forth. So that's basically, and very basic, run through of how you play this game. Of course, the manual gives you more clarification on rules, and if a card's a little hard to understand, it'll clear all that up. But this is basically how you play the core box of DC deck building game. Okay, everybody. So that was a how to play kind of quick playthrough, run through of Cryptozoic's DC deck building game. The core box and the first core box. So there are multiple core boxes. You can go with this one. It's the full game inside. There's one that has Shazam and Hawkman, if I remember right. I think Nightwing's in that one. There's a Teen Titans one. There is a DC Rebirth, which deals with the characters, but in the Rebirth, not universe, but run of DC Comics. If you're a comic fan, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're a comic book fan, and DC comic book fan, you probably know Dark Knight's Death Metal. There's a version of that, right, that you can get. It's a core box, but this box right here, we'll just talk about this one. Know you have some flavor you can get, and there's expansions you can get, but we won't talk about those now, which change how you're playing. You're not playing against each other, but you're playing towards a common goal. So now with this one, as you see, you have a villain deck. There's multiple villains that come out that you get a fight, right? You have a collected pool of cards that you buy from. It's not drafting, but you buy the cards from there and you put them in your hand, and you get your own hero. And that's that hero card. And you have Superman, you have Batman, Wonder Woman, right? We went through all the characters. And that's your hero card, has a special ability. And then you're building that deck. It's like you're building up your superpowers or your gadgets, right? Your inventory, as we had seen through the playthrough. And it's fun, right? As Batman, you want more gadgets, right? You want more gadgets in your deck so you can slap more gadgets down, right? And right now I'm blanking on the proper term for the gadget. I'm looking on the back of the box trying to find it. Equipment. There it is. I found it. All right. So you have equipment. So as Batman, you want equipment, right? You want equipment in that utility belt. You want to slap him down. Plus he gets extra power when he slaps those equipment down. Superman, he's Superman, right? He's got superpowers. And the more superpowers you have, the more powerful Superman is, right? So those decks, you have your hero, which is the card, and then you have those decks where you're kind of building up your superpowers or your equipment, or heroes, right? You get those allies you go in, or villains. You can look at however you want. You get to bring villains over to your side, and they're working with you for that moment, and they're probably going to backstab you later on. So it's different, like all the games They're all different. But this one is easy to teach. I think Legendary Marvel is easy to teach if we're looking at all three of them really quick. And Marvel Champions has a little bit more going on. It's not to knock all of them. I think Marvel Champions out of all of them is the most thematic. DC deck building being the least thematic. Not saying it's bad, just the least thematic. And Marvel Legendary kind of in between. But if in the beginning you look at it and you say, I'm interested in gaming, or I want to try out this deck building kind of thing. I like superheroes. If you like DC superheroes, Cryptozoic's DC deck building game is kind of the way to go. Or at least that's, what I would say. Obviously, I'm making the video. So you go off that. And then from there, you could say, hey, what characters do I want? Shows the characters on the box. I feel like, think about the Legendary box, no, but the Champions box, it kind of cheats you there a little bit, because it shows more heroes that are in the game that are in the game, or heroes that aren't even in the expansions yet. But this one, you can look at the box, you see the heroes, I like those heroes, and you grab it. And this game's really easy to get through and play. So I hope you guys liked the review of DC deck building game. I hope you guys like this whole kind of series of videos trying to look at superhero deck building games. If you haven't watched the other ones, jump back over and watch them. If you want to talk about how horrible the videos are, because we're still working everything up, that's fine. It's always nice. And as usual, or always, help us grow the coalition by liking, by subscribing, by commenting. Thank you. Have a good day.